Before I get started with this video, this is going to be Monday's video. Even though I'm recording it Sunday evening, it will be Monday's video. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with this video. What's up, YouTube world? This is Steven again. It is currently 7:25 p.m. on July 9th of 2023, and I would like to welcome you all to my fourth book review, Billy Summers by Stephen King. As usual, if you don't want any spoilers, leave now, and if you're still here, well, that's your fault. So Billy Summers is a book about a guy named Billy Summers, aka Dave or David Lockridge, aka Dalton Smith. I'll get to those identities in a minute. So what Billy Summers, he is one of the best shooters, like snipers, from his military experience. And what he is hired to do is he is hired to take out this bad guy, Alan. I think his last name is Alan. I forget the guy's name, but he's hired to take out this bad guy in general. And he's supposed to show up to court on a certain day. The person who is assigning him this assassination or whatever, I think his name is Nick Russo, I think. But well, Nick. We'll just say Nick. Nick assigns him this assassination because he promises him that he'll get $1.5 million for the assassination. And what happens is he's given this office because his backstory of why he is here is he's supposedly writing a book. And the book is, they said he can do what he wants, but they would rather it be either fiction or an autobiography or maybe a mixture of both. And they because they want it to be believable. So he moves into this neighborhood and this office where he's writing his book. So he has at least two different places, if I can remember correctly. And his David Lockridge, I guess, life is in this neighborhood, and he's surrounded by a bunch of other neighbors and stuff, and they get along very well. And I think it's Nick, the person that he's talking to, says, like, don't get too attached or don't go too public with your whole David Lockridge lifestyle and profile and stuff like that. So he becomes really good friends with the Ackermans, who have two kids who also play Monopoly with them. And this is a little bit of side stuff, but I thought I would include it anyway because he's really good with Monopoly. And the mother ends up being David the first time, or Billy Summers, the first time, and the kids are all like hooting and hollering and stuff like that, and how like Billy went down Monopoly and everything. And this is a few days before the assassination takes place. They also end up going to a carnival, and he ends up getting Shanice Ackerman, who is the daughter of the Ackermans, a pink flamingo, and she draws herself on the pink flamingo with like little hearts going up above and stuff. And he has the picture, and he decides to put it away, I guess, like as a good luck charm, like the baby shoe that he talks about during his time in Fallujah. And kind of like as a good luck charm. So the day of the assassination, he cuts out a circular hole where the sniper's scope is going to be placed. He takes the shot, and on the first shot, it's a hit. He hits him right in the head, and the guy he is supposed to kill ends up dying pretty much instantly. And there's all kinds of commotion going on around the streets and stuff. There's a higher police presence for the next week or so. And for the next few days, he's like, okay, I'm going to write a little bit more in my book and then hightail it on out of here. But within the next few days, there is a girl who gets pretty much dumped on the street by these three guys who raped her. And Billy Summers ends up taking her in. The girl's name is Alice Maxwell. So he ends up taking Alice into his apartment/office where he lives. The next morning, he wakes up with her pretty much holding a knife at him. Pretty much, she's thinking that he raped her, when in reality, the three guys raped her. She's wondering what's going on because she was drunk or date raped or drugged or whatever the following night, so she doesn't know. But what she does remember is those three guys, and once she found out it was those three guys who raped her, Billy, who is at the time Dalton Smith, she doesn't know it's Billy Summers just yet, pretty much asks her these guys need revenge in some way. What do you want me to do with them? And she pretty much says, don't kill them, but they do need some kind of lesson learned in a way. And then he goes over to the three people's houses, and at this time she figures out that he's Billy Summers. And so Billy, who is at the time Dalton Smith, ends up going to the three people's houses. One is named Trip, one's named Jack, and I forget the third person's name, but Trip, Jack, and the third person who doesn't really get beaten up that much. They pretty much get revenge from Billy Summers, and Jack, I know, gets like some kind of bug spray in his eye or something, and Trip, I forget his last name, but Trip ends up pretty much getting a gun barrel up the ass. He doesn't get shot, but he pretty much takes it up the ass like he did to Alice, and then David, or Billy, leaves the apartment saying, if any of you decide to go to the police with this picture, and he shows the picture of Trip, is going all over the internet. And that's pretty much his blackmail. And then either the very next day or the next 2 days, Alice and Billy end up going all the way to Nevada, because Billy figured out that he's pretty much not going to be paid by Nick, who needs to pay him his $1.5 million that he was promised for his assassination. And they go all the way to Nevada. They decide to stop by a guy in Colorado. I think his name's Bucky, and they stop by his house in Colorado, and they pretty much decide to like disguise themselves differently and stuff like that, and they go all the way to Nick's house, and this is when Billy finds out that someone wanted to pay for Billy's assassination. So after Billy killed the person he was supposed to kill, then someone ended up wanting to pay someone $6 million to kill Billy. And then this is when Billy finds out it's at Nick's place, and Nick tells him that I don't have the 1.5 million. You'll get it eventually, but I have 80,000, maybe even 100,000 in this safe. So they go to the safe. Nick unlocks it for him. Billy gets his, I think it's $100,000. It might be 80,000, but I don't know. And Nick says, you'll get your 1.5 eventually. I'm going to send it in different increments. And he does get it sent eventually. But then he finds out that this guy named, I think it's Roger Clerk. I know the last name is Clerk. We'll just say Clerk. That Clerk was the one who paid $6 million for someone that put a bounty of $6 million on Billy Summers' head. So Billy then wants to go all the way east, I think in New York or New Jersey, to end up killing Roger Clerk. And they go all the way east, and the way they get in is Roger Clerk is apparently a pedophile who likes to rape like really young kids. I'm talking like 10, 11, 12 years old. So what they do is they disguise Alice Maxwell, who's really about 20 or 21, younger, so that Roger Clerk can say, okay, she's the next person I'm going to rape. And then they drive all the way to Clerk's house, and they end up opening the gate for them, and then Billy Summers ends up shooting the security guy in the ankle who is guarding the place, and he falls down. Clerk comes towards the front door and saying, that sounds like a gunshot, what happened? And then he sees Billy, and he tries to run back to his room, and he trips, and he finds out that that's actually Billy, Billy, and he thought Billy was killed. And then Alice comes in after and ends up shooting Roger Clerk in the stomach, and pretty much he's bleeding out. So Billy ends up finishing the job and puts a bullet through his head, and that's how they end up killing Clerk. And once they leave Clerk, Billy ends up getting his gun from this canister because they weren't allowed to take weapons, and technically, but Alice did, and they run into someone named Marge, who's the gardener for Nick, and Nick really injured Marge's son, and Marge wants revenge, and then Marge ended up shooting Billy, and it kind of grazed his side, like kind of creased his side, and it didn't kill him, but they end up going to this motel, and a no-tell motel, as they say in the book, and Alice ends up cleaning Billy's wound as best she can, and the following morning, or the following 2 mornings, Billy puts a letter under Alice's door. I'll get to why I put that in quotes in a minute, saying, if you see this, I have already left, that because I am a bad man and I didn't want to ruin you, because Bucky, who lived in Colorado, told you that I was going to ruin you if you keep coming along with me, and I already am. And then the next few days, she's back at Bucky's, and she tells the real story about what happened to Billy. What happened to Billy is the wound on his side gets worse and worse, and they end up going together to try to get back to Bucky. So that, you know, they go through Indiana, they go through Illinois, they go through Pennsylvania, all those states, and his infection and wound keeps getting worse and worse, to the point where it's gotten gray and black, and red tendrils are like going up to where his heart is located. And, you know, he's in more pain. He just keeps getting worse and worse. And around Iowa, he's pretty much in the back, just in the fetal position, like knees to his chest and everything. And when they get to Nebraska, she leans back and takes a nap in the car. And the next morning around 5 a.m., she finds out that Billy Summers unfortunately died. So that's the real ending. But and the way I said that in quotes, the letter thing, is because that's how Alice finished Billy's book that he's writing, because she ended up finishing Billy's book, and that's how she finished it. But the real ending is that Billy died from Marge's gun wound. So when she got back to Colorado, Bucky and her ended up burying Billy's body towards the cabin that he was using to write his book when he was living in Colorado for a few days. And she ended up putting one of the paperbacks that Billy told her to read on top of his grave, and she looks out into the sunrise, and she tells Billy that she's going to be attending Colorado State University, that she wants to live in Colorado now, and she's going to be majoring in English. So that is Billy Summers in a nutshell, and that is the story about Billy Summers. So what did I think about the book? I truly enjoyed this book overall. I really liked it, and I loved how it ended. I really enjoyed this book, and because it was kind of a book inside of a book, especially when he was writing about his story. I really enjoyed that part, and I really enjoyed how Alice decided to finish his story for him, and how she decided to write up all that stuff about him and her trying to get back to Bucky's in general. I really enjoyed that, and I honestly don't really have anything to say about this book. This is definitely one of Stephen King's better written books, one of his better, most recently written books, I should say, that he has done, and I thoroughly enjoyed every page of that. So on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, Billy Summers is going to be getting a 5 for me. I don't see anything that I particularly did not like about this book, and I think everything fit in its certain way, and I really enjoyed reading that, and I cannot wait to read my next book. But it's going to be a little bit from now, because starting in the next week or two, I'm going to be plotting for my 14th book that I am going to be writing, and it's going to be titled Boneyard. So I guess keep an eye out for that. But until my next book review, if you liked what you saw in this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and comment below. And I'll see you guys next time with another video. This is Steven signing out.